everybody, and welcome back to the One Piece Virgins Egghead Book Club Podcast, Volume 29. Back in Skypia yet again with Mumkey and Eggy.
That's right, we're flying high, maybe like a certain shipcraft of sorts that is finally revealed in this particular volume.
Did we see the Arc Maxim, or was it just discussed?
It was discussed, but I mean, we have the mention of it, and then we have, the great Kami's throne beginning to disintegrate like so many pieces of bread in my bath when I fall asleep. So, I mean, frankly, I think it's about time it's about to be popping up.
Wow, I can't wait to dive into whatever the hell you're talking about. But there's a lot in this volume to dive into. We get the answer to the 5 survivors of Enel's game. And yes, he was counting himself, it turns out. That was a bit of a mystery. Many other mysteries introduced. Maybe some solved. Eggy, top of mind question for everybody is, what is Eggy's top of mind?
Well, I guess to be honest...
did I say that this is chapters 265 through 275? Probably important to...
Well, volume 29, I mean, if you guys, viewers have been keeping track, I'm sure. And, it's usually 10 chapters a volume.
But I wanted to make sure the guy who's not reading and doesn't know anything about One Piece knows how many chapters we covered.
That's true. He's got to be able to know how many more we are from the current, as we are from the start. That's a good idea. Get you a good percentage. If you're like me, you're a real statistician. Helps you kind of feel the flow, the pacing, the progress. I guess this is kind of a very silly, I think, because it really shouldn't be my top of mind, but it was hard for me to shake this, that the cavern that Luffy fell into in the previous volume, if this animal's anything like the animal I am, it really is a cavern, but it was actually the stomach of the giant snake, the ruler of the skies, even. So, I mean, really, that's a very prestigious title, especially if the god of the Skypia is referring to you that way.
I think when Skypia is said and done, we could probably write a 1-hour YouTube video essay just about this giant snake. The amount of characterization we get out of him when he can't even talk, just like how jubilant he is when he falls into the lost ruins of Shandora, and he's so happy and dancing, and then he gets fucking blasted by 1,000,000 volts. It's just, I hate to see an animal suffer far more than I hate seeing humans suffer, and this fucking snake, like Luffy's beating him up from the inside, Enel's blasting him, he's getting hit with bazookas that don't do anything. I love this snake.
It's funny because even when, I think it's maybe 2 chapters in here where Luffy is trying to get through the side of the, for the first time, it happens multiple times in the volume, but he goes and strikes the wall of the cave, and the snake reacts like it's popping out and chasing after Nami and Aiza. I still, gonna keep it real, I had to come back to it because I still didn't realize at the time that he was punching the inside of the snake. I was like, oh, he hit the wall so hard in the ruins or in the cave that it must have shaken the ground, and the snake, he came and popped up. He startled him. I didn't realize it until maybe by the end of the next chapter, I think for sure I did. But yeah, that was oopsies on my part. But speaking of animals, Holly also, I think Holly
boxing dog.
She gets on 2 feet. Holly really brings a lot to this volume, in my opinion. Also, of course, we have Eneru literally murdering, important characters that we've come to know and love. So this should be any real, sensible person's top of mind. Just his immense power and incredible abilities that he has. But I love animals. And so they're definitely going to just drift into my eyes and ears and my perception even stronger than things that actually probably matter. That's just me.
Eggy, how does the inside of a snake work? If you're swallowed by it, can you just walk around? If you're teeny tiny, shrunk down, and a snake eats you, can you walk all the way to the end of the tail? Is the entire inside also its stomach?
I'm sure there's got to be some sort of digestive enzyme in there, but I think there is a precedent. I'm just going to go off this without any actual reference. I'm not even going to Google it, but I believe there's been like rats that have been, or rodents or something like that, that's been eaten by a snake, and then they like chop the snake, and the whatever's in there can still get out, and as long as it didn't asphyxiate or whatever. Maybe it's the ones that have like the venom that sort of like paralyze it or something. Maybe I just am thinking of something that doesn't exist. But I feel like there's been some precedent out there for a snake eating something and then it being able to come back out of the snake
sure.
to make it that giant size.
But like when Luffy's roaming around, is he going all the way to the back of the tail when he reaches the end of the cave and it's like a dead end? And he's surely he looks for the butthole because he wants to exit the butthole several times, and Nami refuses, or whoever, one of them does. Where's the snake's butthole? How does a snake even shit?
I really don't know that off the top of my head. If I had to guess, maybe there was some sort of like how we have our, esophagus. There's some sort of like muscle larynx or whatever, where our, when sometimes you inhale your food and it goes down the wrong tube, it's sort of like the muscle's not doing what it's supposed to. Maybe he's hitting like the snake's like pre-digestive muscle up in this part of it or something, and they can't. Maybe if they were going to try to get through, maybe they'd be in some acid or something. I'm not Googling any of this to verify it, but just, from a man who graduated high school 16 years ago's point of view, that's probably something that's scientifically accurate.
As usual, we're just two white guys asking questions, noticing patterns, asking innocent questions. We're not giving answers. Okay? You can interpret any answer you want from our questions. And the question of the day is, how does a snake shit? Probably like my bearded dragon, where like just some weird like hole under his tail scales opens up, and that's where all of his shit comes out, like piss and shit. Like he doesn't really pee. It's like a white shit for his piss. Very strange creature. Should I put his excrement on the next wheel of cursed meals, Eggy?
It can't be that toxic, right? I mean, how much could he be excreting? We excrete our toxins in certain ways. I don't think it could be that bad. He's not a poisonous, venomous animal, so. I
think when he was a baby, he did shit on the exact part of the couch that you lay your head on to sleep on every night when you stay over. So that couch was ruined so long ago.
If we were going to compare lizard shit to, just my natural like forehead oils or whatever, I mean, I've probably imbued more toxicity than
the couch is more ruined from you. Yeah, the couch cleaner comes and he's like looking at the eggy stain and he says, "Oh, a bit of lizard shit should clean this out." So
I see you've been greasing the armrest here for a long time, but it's
just like a huge indent in it. Can't even put your arm in there. It's like a cavern. Anything else from the snaky top of mind? By the end of the volume, Luffy and Isa are still trapped in the snake. Do we think Luffy will exit through the butthole as he's been hoping to?
I think what I would like to see, I guess one funny way I could read it is if he would do that. I just don't think Aisa deserves that. So maybe like Aisa like kind of pushes her way out like past the fangs or something, and where's Luffy? And he's like crawling out of the snake's ass. That would be pretty funny. The way that I would put it together, probably more in my mind's eye, would be like Luffy kind of like holding her. Maybe she's kind of taking a bit of residual damage from from Eneru's electric strike, and he's kind of like comes out like holding the snake's fangs up, and he's like, "Eneru, now it's time to pay." I mean, Eneru's dealing with a lot of damage here, and I think I kind of had an inclination there was going to be some kind of way that the remaining survivor number was going to be, it had to be skewed somehow, like this is what it's going to seem like. So my thought process is Luffy is not being counted among the survivors right now because he's still inside the snake with Aisa, but he's going to pop out okay. They need some sort of handicap here, obviously. I honestly thought towards the end of the volume, with a particular gem that I'm sure we'll get to speaking on, I thought maybe all this could really just turn around right here, right now. And of course, Eneru, he ain't going down that easy. The last few bits of the final chapter show us
that
some real
epic
crazy
shot
stuff.
where the four of them are pointing at Eneru and says, "You're the one who should disappear." I absolutely love that one. Very badass, even though they all then immediately get killed.
It was very heartwarming, a real sense of unity, which I felt like, that's how it should be. I'm not going to count that out still necessarily. I think that when we get into, we essentially did begin the combat with Eneru. I kind of predicted last week that the stage would be set, and to be honest, it's kind of like kind of in the middle here, because combat did occur. There was sort of a big opening, but it didn't necessarily have any impact on Eneru. Spoiler alert, but so we're
they
kind of
killed
still
him.
starting from square one.
He killed him, and Eneru is so powerful that his electricity restarted his own heart like a defibrillator. Like, how do you stop this guy?
Well, and I should say, Robin, she speaks a couple times. I believe it's the Logia or Logia devil fruit. Yeah, Logia devil fruit. She said it's one of the few considered invincible, I believe, are her words. And this is the woman who knows everything about everything. So if she's talking that talk like that, she's able to come and basically piece together some of the history of Shandoria here just by, walking around and looking at it, reading a couple of the poneglyph pieces up there.
And that is my top of mind. So good transition, Eggy. Because my top of mind is a waifu recap of the week. I think this volume is really when Robin comes into her own and starts shining as one of my top tier characters. And I did find something we forgot to talk about last week that then I tried to find at the last second and couldn't, so then we cut it out. But to talk about Robin, and she finishes fighting that big fat guy. We'll get to that later. I'm more interested in some of this archaeological discovery that we're doing. And we get this quote from Robin: "The town's books were all burned and the city's history was erased. The city fought against the enemy. The golden city of Shandora was ruined in the service of protecting the poneglyph." Now here's what we missed from last volume. In chapter 261, Robin was reading some other shit and concluded, "The city thrived over 1100 years ago, and it was destroyed 800 years ago. It falls right into the 100-year gap in the history of the world." Eggy, has this ever come up before in One Piece? A 100-year gap in the history of the world?
Not that I can recall. I don't want to have too much of the adjacent cultural osmosis of One Piece impact me, so I don't think that it has come up in the reading up to this point.
Well, if you know more, I would love to, spoilers abound. We can't fake your virginity here if you got poked in the with some knowledge, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know what this entails, but I just want to say I have heard a 2-word phrase, time skip. So I don't know if this is like, it's going to actually be a time goes back and they recount some ancient history and then skip back to the current day. I honestly know nothing about it. I just know I've heard about, that's what the time skip. But
okay. So virginity remains intact. Your hymen has not been diamond. We're good to go. But so Robin, she's interested in this ancient history. For 800 years ago, there's just 100 years of the history's missing. That's pretty intriguing to me as a reader. I'd love to know some more about that. And it would seem that the city of Shandora was involved in this in some way. And that's really what she's uncovering here. Do you have any thoughts about any of this, Eggy?
Well, it was very interesting, and I'm glad that the way that the volume opens with Robin and Yama in combat, and Yama is almost happy to be doing this collateral damage to the surroundings that they're fighting, and she's trying to sort of lead him away from this area where they're doing combat, and he sort of just is going in this full belligerent, malicious aggression where he's just he's kind of turning himself into almost like Sonic the Hedgehog. Beep, beep. I don't know how he looks in the anime, but he's just kind of doing like this rolling attack of sorts. And really, I want to say, just besides this, Robin's combat ability in this chapter really excels. We really get a taste for what she's capable of, and quite powerful, especially with her sort of trail of hands. It almost looks like it goes a bit further than what she should be able to see, but maybe because she saw it before, I'm not sure. But it was quite the fight. But
yeah, she just rolls his ass like a ball off a cliff with like 1,000 hands. It's pretty good. She might do that same move again, some 800 chapters later. Who could say?
Her to handle Yama, and then for her to also then discern that the cloud material, which was unnatural to the original city of Shandor when it was in the Blue Sea, is sort of taken up some residence among the ruins, and she's able to just block by block, like Minecraft, just carve out with a knife like chunks of the cloud material, and able to transcend down to a lower level of the ruins that have not been damaged by any battle. So I think there was something in that same series of panels where she's talking about it that kind of infers that there was maybe some sort of combat around that time too. I know that it's the missing history, but I feel like there was something I remember reading, but I don't have it.
The city was destroyed fighting against the enemy in service of protecting the poneglyph.
Right, yeah. Okay, that's probably what I'm thinking of. But yeah, just the whole concept, the whole premise of these ruins of ancient unknown history, that definitely tickles something for me. Hashtag no Diddy. But it's very intellectually stimulating, creatively, imaginatively stimulating. It really gets the neurons fired up for what this could mean, and what like, there's so much going on in the now. There's so much going on with this survival game and the fighting, and like part of my brain is going towards trying to contemplate how Eneru could be defeated, but there's definitely a large space that was taken up for these first few chapters, thinking about all the wonderful magical history that could be there, which is stifled just a smidge by Eneru saying, yeah, there's no gold, by the way. But, I was kind of hanging on to a little bit of a thread of hope that maybe there was some riches that were going to be rewarded.
He took that gold.
Yeah, but...
So, it's got to be around here somewhere. It's not like he ate it.
I'm not going to rule anything out. I was just hoping maybe, he would pop up, maybe he hadn't thought to go down that lower layer. Maybe he might pop up while Robin's down there and be like, oh, well, I guess I never thought to go down here. Or, oh, it's so good that you uncovered this for me. Because it is inferred that he is not completely aware of what the poneglyphs are speaking on. I forget what exactly the part is, but there's something there in his conversation with Robin where she realizes he does know something, but then also kind of, she doesn't say too much. There's a lot that she's just thinking to herself, and then she goes, oh, I think there was something that he wasn't aware of.
He doesn't know where the golden bell is.
Oh, right.
Right, yeah. So now he's like, he's planning on destroying Skypia, sending it back down to the Blue Sea and killing everybody. But first he wants to grab this bell. So maybe it's a race to the bell.
Yeah, well, then hopefully, I've still it's been hard for me to shake trying to think of how they're going to defeat him, because it's like...
Well, you've always come up with good scientifically based theories. Does anything come to mind? How would you fight lightning?
Well, one thing that had kind of stuck out to me as a possibility is obviously Luffy. He's got the gum fruit, and they call him the Rubber Man, and he has like transitive rubber qualities, but I don't believe that is going to translate to a sort of electricity negation. I would like to think so, but I just don't think. I think it's just not going to work out that way. The sea gem that has been mentioned before that can be used to negate devil fruit powers. Now, the prism. That's been brought up previously.
It was just used. Like there's some right here on the battlefield. Homeboy Wiper has some. So yeah, it's available.
See, I wasn't even thinking of that prior to Wiper using it in this volume, because I'm still trying to think of what they have at hand.
Yeah, it is kind of bullshit. He just he has this with him. He just pulls it out. Where did he get it? I don't know. Good question.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this too, actually. Now, just on the fact that Wiper was able to strike Eneru.
He killed him. He straight up killed him with the reject dial, and probably killed himself in the process.
So that at least, even though it was a bit of bittersweet that it just didn't really end up going anywhere, anticlimactic, I should say. After that, I guess where my thoughts go to is the Vars. I think we mentioned this last volume, or sort of spoke on it a little bit, that, Pokemon logic, ground defeats electric. But the Vars has been a reoccurring part of this entire arc so far. It's what the Shandians are so respectful of, and they're really just so in tune with this land and this earth that they do have. And so I think that with it being so prominent and so culturally significant to the Shandian people, what better time for the ground, the earth, the rock, the dirt, the mud, whatever form it might take here, to be a positive aspect for the protagonists in this combat. I think that it would really tie together with the whole idea that they're saving not just themselves, not just the people, but now the whole of Skypia from falling into the blue sea, killing everybody. Like the earth, the Vars, is gonna maybe be this key element in saving everybody and defeating their tormentor.
Like the heroes being sort of supported by nature, like when the giant Southbirds saved Chopper and Gonfall earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But hopefully, maybe the Southbird will come back and apologize to Zoro too for dropping him into the towards the snake here in their chase.
Something I wanted to mention and forgot like 5 minutes ago, but when we have our 4 people plus Nami pointing up at Eneru saying you're the one who should disappear, I love the choice of these 4 characters because they're people who don't trust each other and in some ways hate each other. Zoro and Robin, like Zoro is the one member who does not trust Robin, is always giving her the cold shoulder. But then after this moment and she gets attacked by Eneru, he jumps in and catches her, and I think this is the exact moment. Zoro is solid with Robin now. Gonfall and Wiper obviously have issues with each other based on, oh, you're the president of the United States and I'm a Native American. Yeah, you're kind of my natural enemy. But no, this one guy, Eneru, is such a damnable presence, such a shared enemy, that all these people who are against each other can unite against him. And I wonder if there's, is there any group on Earth today that Eneru might represent, that all of us with all this political turmoil could come together and say, you know what, let's stop infighting and focus our energy on who should really disappear.
Some sort of omnipotent, might say really heavily surveillance, gold-loving, possibly malicious and neurotic individual.
We're just asking questions. We didn't answer any of them. If you answered it in your head, you can't blame us. We're just asking questions about One Piece. Anyway.
Obviously, I'm talking about Salt Bay with his gold-covered steaks. Yeah. What's the deal with that, folks?
Really, any billionaire could go, to be honest. Anybody who loves gold that much is no good. But, we don't have any new members or comments this week, so I thought I would bring up an old beloved segment, an update from the other One Piece Virgin podcast. You want to hear about this?
I cannot wait to hear.
So for the longest time, they were on pace with us, and covering Alabasta at the same time we were and stuff. But they fell off in the last month and did not post. They posted a new episode today covering the entirety of Jaya. So we're still way ahead of them. The entire Jaya arc in one podcast, Aggie. Do you want to guess how long the episode was?
I'm going to go for 30 minutes.
Dude, yes. Dead on. It was literally 30 minutes. 2 of those minutes was the main host having microphone issues, and they did not cut it out. So really, it's closer to 28 minutes. And
it's funny.
Their One Piece Virgin's main takeaway was, well, it was a shorter one. That's the level of discussion you can expect from the other One Piece Virgin podcast.
Just like in real life, when it's a male virgin, the time runs a lot longer, if you know what I'm saying, folks.
I think we talked about Jaya for maybe 4 hours. But, some people have more to say, I guess. Aggie, should we run through this volume a little more chronologically now that we have all of our our things taken care of.
It sounds good to me.
Okay, I'll let you run with it, whatever is interesting to you from all these chapters.
Well, I will say, so this was not enough for a top of mind, but we do, by chapter 272, we do get into the beginning of the new cover story.
Oh, yes!
I touch on this real quickly because...
No, let's take our time. This is worth discussing.
Yeah. I just want to say because I think last volume last week I predicted that something with Blackbeard was going to be due. So
the Ace's search for Blackbeard might have been another accurate Aggie prediction, folks!
Ring!
This is the only instrument I have.
I got my oh yeah! It's not turned on, it doesn't have any batteries or anything, but
that was a good echo effect just in your closet. That was good. So
when the 272 first comes up, and I determined that it's because I was, really eyeing up every previous cover story, and it has some really beautiful, just unique. I like the goth Robin. That's a cool one. They got some good stuff going on for the actual cover story. I think what do they call it? Like main cover story number 6, I think is what we're on now. So I'm seeing here, I'm looking at the silhouette of Ace, and I'm looking at it, and what inclined me to believe that it was going to be Ace was the hat, actually, but I kind of felt like the silhouette that they give here, I guess with the line work, they probably couldn't flesh him out anymore. He just looked a little bit lanky, but, once I observed the hat, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that's Ace, then he pops up on the next story, and, he's out here, he's just... he's trying to find Blackbeard, and once I don't know if I even realized, maybe they didn't imply that that was the theme of the story until chapter 275, or maybe I just missed it on 273.
273, the cover story is titled Ace's Great Search for Blackbeard.
Okay. Yeah, I might have just parsed over that a little too quickly, but I did notice it for 275, so I just figured it was worth mentioning because I'm like, hey, yeah, I hope that he does show up at some point during this story so that, I could say, I remember 3 or 4 weeks ago when I said Blackbeard specifically. So I guess we're both searching for Blackbeard now.
Do you want to see them fight in this cover story, or would that be better for the actual main story so we can have some dialogue and stuff?
Yeah, I think it would be better for the main story. I would kind of like to see a little bit of Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner sort of comedy, maybe Ace is kind of looking up over a hill or something, and you see the top of Blackbeard's head, or maybe some sort of crumbs left behind, some sort of paper trail, which I guess is what he's already been doing ever since Drum Island. But I think that they could do some good things with this. Probably not going to be too fleshed out, but I could definitely see some entertainment coming out of this story. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
So Aggie's prediction is Ace will have wacky hijinks in his search for Blackbeard. I think I'm smelling another accurate prediction, folks. I think Aggie's going to be 2 for 2 on this one. I think you might be the cover story king, or at least the Ace king, because every correct prediction is about Ace so far. How about this? Why is his tattoo all fucked up? Why'd they spell Ace wrong? And they had to put an X through it.
ASE. Well... yeah, I guess I don't know about that.
If you don't know English, Ace is a easy word to spell wrong because it sounds like ASE. So you just have to imagine he's like, oh shit, you fucked it up as he's getting the tat. But should we move back to some Skypia action?
Yes.
Isa lets Nami know, hey, I'm sensing all the people out in the woods, and there is no group of 4, so something happened to your friends, and Nami's a little bit worried. Luffy wandering through his weird cave, of course, which we find out it's not so much a cave, and does not have a butthole to escape from. And then the fight with Yama. I know you said Yama's one of your literally me's, and he's getting his ass beat by my waifu here, Aggie, so do you have any personal stakes here?
Well, I just want to, there's a panel here too of Zoro yelling at the giant bird, who then ends up doing him a little dirty. I had to stop for a second. I was like, what? Yes. I was like, what is that? Because the bird in the, I know I don't think actually. Maybe we haven't had an inclination that things that are or the flora and fauna of the upper yard are larger. That was Little Garden.
No, we did. Because of the pyrobloin in the clouds, or something like that, the chemical of the sky made everything on the upper yard grow way massively big.
That's right. I guess I was thinking that. I guess the trees I knew that about, yeah. And then holly, but I guess
I don't even know if holly is the result of that. I mean, holly's probably like 4 years old, right?
Yeah, I think last time I was predicting that holly was just like some sort of that. The throne, or what we've come to know as the throne of Eneru now, was actually like the Jack and the Beanstalk giant land, which did not seem to be the case. But I just still thought it was funny because, I guess I just had to stop and do a double take. I was like, what is he arguing with? Like, what is that thing? I was like, okay, well, I see the face is like a Southbird face, but what's huge? But yes, Yama, V, Robin. Yeah, he's kind of... He's kind of just a jerk now. I'm kind of happy that he does get his ass beat because when I saw him having long dark hair, being obese, and slightly indigenous resembling, I thought, okay, definitely has the wherewithal to be literally me. Maybe fighting women and seething could be considered to possibly be occasional qualities of mine, but that was probably the old me. Now, obviously, I'm much more developed or something. But
and as you've made it clear on this episode so far, you are interested in ancient history, and this motherfucker is just kind of going out of his way to destroy ruins at this point. And Robin is so pissed, like she's taking it extremely personally by the end of the fight, saying, I will never forgive you, you horrible person, like snapping his neck and throwing him off a cliff. So, yeah, maybe not a literally eggy after all.
It's funny, I was actually just a slight tangent here, but I was just conversating with somebody the other day because
I'm not here to conversate, man. Just talk about the One Piece.
But yes, my love of museums and history and things, when I feel it's being disrespected, is definitely one of my triggers. So, Yama, he had to die, and yes. Robin, she spares no expense, really flexes, no pun intended, her devil fruit ability here to really put on a show. The way that she sort of has all her arms sprouting from this stone structure to kind of like catch Yama in the air and then like smack him into the like some kind of giant swing, some like big gymnastics act, and just smack him right into the stone before throwing him off the cliff. Masterful work. I noticed she did get a little roughed up here, so she's not maybe quite the Zoro tankiness quite yet, but her tactical abilities might be some of the best that I've seen so far, just off of that particular battle.
Yeah, she has been really the Straw Hat's ace in the hole, low-key this whole time. She got the information about cricket, she caught the Southbird when nobody else could, and she could just like massacre all these people at once just by sprouting hands on them and arms. So I want to see if Robin ever like loses a fight. Like, what can you even do to stop her other than maybe some Sea Prism Stone?
Well, I would have to say, just as I see it right now, yeah, you'd have to incapacitate her.
Like, realistically, only Luffy could stop her because, like, she can't snap his spine. He's made of rubber. Like, you could bend him all you want. He bends himself in the fight. So, I think Luffy could probably take her. But Zoro, I think she takes Zoro's swords and fucking stabs him with them.
You know what just occurred to me, I guess? So Robin, she got zapped, or maybe that was, I forget exactly, but it's not relevant to my exact point. But with her being able to have her limbs come and manipulate people just from like sprouting from their own body, maybe she's going to end up doing a Johnny Cage Mortal Kombat stuff. Maybe she could just like straight up rip Eneru's heart out or something. Maybe if his heart can resuscitate itself, maybe just go for the fatality and, go maybe put his heart in a box.
And she does get shot with lightning in 274, and then Zoro catches her in 275. Right. He's like, she's a woman. And Eneru says, I know, I saw. I thought that was one of the more badass, epic misogyny moments. I stood up and clapped. He recognized her beauty as a woman, and it's not even misogyny. He saw her as an equal. And, Zoro's, if anything, the sexist one here. Women should be able to fight gods all they want.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely shown herself to be... Equal lightning bolts. I guess, maybe it doesn't matter which hand it comes from.
Speaking of based, Aggie, there's a character I need to give a little bit of props to. I spent a long time thinking I hated Eneru's vassal characters, and I think it's just because Satori spoiled them for me. Like Shura, the guy on the rock, I guess he's not so bad. He has a cool moment with Chopper. But Ohm here, like, I completely forgot about Ohm. And his introduction in 266 when Chopper is the first Straw Hat to climb the giant jack and he confronts Ohm. I might have busted a gut laughing at some of these moments between the two of them. Some of this dialogue here. Ohm he's very cool and very funny at the same time, and I want to read some of this. Ohm says, he's mourning human frailty. Humans were born hoping for happiness and destroy each other in their pursuit of it. But if that's true, they would be better off not fighting. One cannot escape human nature, pity, but there is one path to salvation. And Chopper's like, oh, he's very interested. And then he guy in Chopper, he got his eyes poking out, his tongue's all spiky. Oh, what a scary solution. Straight out of Bobobo. 10 out of 10, fucking hilarious moment. I love it. And I love this guy's, his philosophy on humanity is that they're weak and pitiful and they're better off dead than suffering and destroying each other. And then his weapon is just, it's very scary for being like a cloud whip sword. Sounds kind of cartoonish, but no, this thing is like a honing missile and will slash the fuck out of you. And Chopper probably has the most brutal panel of him being violated by this whip with horrible blood coming out. But that's enough for me, Aggie. What'd you think about all this?
Well, in that particular moment where Ohm's weapon sort of does the like homing strike and does hit Chopper, and he gets it bad, and he's basically down. I know Nami's got him towards the end of the volume, like she's kind of holding him as they're cowering behind the cover while everybody else is confronting Eneru. It was at that moment that I thought to myself, okay, I was willing to possibly have to anticipate that somebody could be killed here. One of the Straw Hat members could be being murdered here, because I'm also thinking to myself, okay, it's not like Skypia is some alternate reality or alternate dimension or whatever, but maybe the thought that came to my mind was perhaps we're defeating Eneru, however it happens, we get there, and maybe his godly powers, and this is even before I finished the volume to see that he like resuscitates himself with the electricity, maybe somehow if some of the Straw Hat members are seemingly killed or at least severely incapacitated as a result of his powers preceding his defeat, maybe they could somehow utilize his powers before his death, or if they're going to put him in some sort of sea prison or something, whatever, however they might do it, maybe they could utilize his electricity to like give them a Frankenstein-style resurrection. But yeah, that panel with Chopper getting it like that was the first time I had to consider that maybe somebody's going to get taken out for a little while.
And potentially we did see somebody get killed when the slave who was forced to work and build the Arc Maxim for 6 years, he's escaped and he's on the edge of the woods, and Conus and Pagaya go meet up with him. That slave and Pagaya, they get blasted by an Eneru lightning bolt, so I mean, I'm sure one of them's probably at least dead. I mean, the slave was in bad shape to begin with.
Yeah.
But that's fodder. Who cares if they die? I mean, if Pagaya and Conus both drop dead, I don't know if I'm weeping.
Pagaya, I mean, he's old. He lived a long life, to be honest. I'm not saying it's good, but I could see it being collateral damage.
But they're building up something interesting with Conus, where like the children of Angel City or whatever the fuck are talking like, oh yeah, they're evil, they betrayed the god, and now she's sort of on this mission to relay the information. Skypia will be destroyed. So you have to imagine maybe these people are not going to believe her based on that little scene with the children. That might be a desperate attempt to try to save everybody's life and they're not listening. It's fucking Usopp all over again.
It truly is. And then considering that Gonfor already had to basically scoop her out of the path of a smiting in the town square while everybody was watching and everybody was getting like all the information and details, of the kids and their distrust of the betrayers, and then her basically having been implied to have been that by what had happened in the town square already. But I just want to say one thing about Ohm's weapon again. I know he is a playable character in some of these games, these fighting games that we've played, the One Piece games, and I think I gave him a try for like one match, but what his sort of 100% accuracy strike, if I may call it that, reminded me of his Mihawk in the games. He has a sort of homing ground
support
strike.
Character. Like
I think it's his
support character is like he hits he hits the ground and then it like chases you. So
maybe that's I don't know why Mihawk does that. I don't think we've seen anything in even though that this
they
is
couldn't think
to
of
be
a
like,
support character for him because he has no friends. So yeah, his slash will hone in on you.
But that's what it reminded me of, and this is at this point we still see, I believe, just sort of like the sword attack, and then later on Ohm has this sort of whip attack, but it's a very like the milky dial that he can use. He can utilize the clouds in that iron way, and it's very frightening weaponry for sure. I think that maybe this could even be something that our heroes could hopefully get their utilization of. Maybe Zoro will have a backup milky dial blade later on,
or at least Usopp. That would be cool. He can also make his shit just turned into like a giant wall shield, so it's basically a Swiss Army cloud dial at this point. Let's see, anything else from him and Chopper? I guess probably not. Luffy bazookas the dead end, and it still doesn't budge, and that's when the snake starts fucking freaking the hell out, and Luffy's just flying back and forth through the ruins.
Yeah, that might be where because I think he strikes the side of him in 265, and I think it was in 266 there, where he does that I finally understand, okay, this is two instances now of Luffy attacking like a wall, and then the snake reacts. That was when I was able to put it together as that's where he was at, and it was, I don't know, like not exactly relieving because you're inside of a giant snake. That's not good, but at the same time I feel like just because I at least knew where he was, it sort of helped tie at least one loose end up for me in my brain to get me focused on something else in the story.
Yeah, and it's at this point that the giant snake really becomes the main character for a few chapters, and all of the action is based on him. Like at first he's freaking out, and he's sort of going towards Isa and Nami, and they have to retreat from him, and then he's going way up in the air, and Zoro's being carried by a south bird way up in the air, and the snake's coming at them, so the bird has the bright idea, hey, if I drop this guy, I can get away. So he drops Zoro, which lands him right into the fight with Ohm, so that was very convenient. And then the snake just climbs up the giant jack himself and joins, and we have so many epic panels of like this 5-way Mexican standoff conflict of Zoro and Wiper, Gonfor, Ohm, giant snake, giant dog. Like, some great artwork. It'd be a great poster, some of those.
Yeah, this might be a little bit late in the recording here, but I honestly, come to think of it, that probably was I wouldn't call it my top of mind, but I think this was definitely the most enjoyable part of this volume for me, because it's just so chaotic, and I really loved just everything about that. Because like we're getting up here, like after Chopper scales up into the throne and Ohm's up there, like that kind of is like the door gets opened, and then it's just like the tidal wave just hits, and it's completely insane. And then
it gets even more crazy because Eneru blasts the cloud that they're on, and then all of these fighters fall down into the Shandoran ruins, and then and then the poor snake, he's so happy, like he hasn't been there for a long time. He's getting nostalgic, and he gets punished for it real quick. Poor Snakey. But any other thoughts on this huge fucking battle royale scene?
It's badass. It's pretty much the long and short of it. And I like how it does kind of humanize the snake a little bit, because in that first go, when it pops out on Nami and Isa, and when it's chasing Zoro in the South Bird and everything like that, it's a very terrifying presence. Like, it's just this huge snake, and I guess that's just part of the magic of the cloud material that made it grow so big. Or maybe this one's special since it's the ruler of the skies, but just the intensity, it really keeps up here. And even once they humanize a little bit, it doesn't take anything away from that intensity, but it just sort of is like a little bit relieving, so you're not just on edge the entire time.
Of course, the snake ends up eating Gonfor and Pierre and then the girls, but then some of them fly out without Luffy and Ice. I don't know why they had to get left behind, but we just gotta, just like with Goku, we gotta keep the main character away from the bad guy so he can kill all of his friends. So then the final fight could happen later. I like that Konis and Pagaya, they're the ones left protecting the Mary, and she said that she's nursing Sanji and Usopp back to health. They did not do anything in this whole volume. I think it was just the one panel of them still dead from Eneru's attack. So, despite the survival game being over, hey, who's to say some non-survivors can't be revived and join the action later on?
Yeah, I did read it that way, because I know Aisa's saying that these are their voices that she's able to pick up on, but I feel like if you have a certain level of incapacitation, maybe not even necessarily comatose, but just kind of unconscious for the time being, I think that it would be strong enough to... That was just my read of it, because otherwise I think we would have seen them like explicitly dead. So hopefully this sort of just general incapacitation that doesn't necessarily mean fatal could also apply to some of our good Shandy friends who, we don't want to see them all completely wiped out. Maybe some of the some of the heavenly soldiers or heavenly fighters that realize that Eneru was not really for them. Maybe a few of them will come back and come to their senses. I have hope, but at least as long as the Straw Hat crew members are coming back, I guess that's all that really matters. But
reading my notes reminded me about a question we had last week that nobody in the comments was able to answer, Aggie. What are the 36 Buddhist earthly desires? Because then in this volume, Zoro ups his game. Instead of one sword style 36, he's using all three, each one of 36. What's that equal? 108 pound phoenix, or whatever the fuck he says. But according to Chat GPT, who knows if it's an expert on Buddhism, but I did look this up. They are typically divided into three main groups related to the six senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mind, which means thoughts. So here are the 36 earthly desires. Desires related to sight: desire for attractive forms, aversion to unattractive forms, attachment to past forms, craving for future forms, clinging to present forms. So that kind of shit times 36, Aggie. So I guess Zoro's rejection of these desires and honing his skills instead into his swordsmanship, perhaps, maybe that's what's going on here.
You know what? If you got 36 different good disciplines, and you could somehow just stack them up like slotted gems in a piece of equipment in an RPG video game, which is every single analogy I have to make. #RealGamer. You know what? Just keep powering up and keep on stacking those disciplines, masteries, if you will. And I think really that is a big thing of Zoro's character so far, is by trying to become the best swordsman in the world. Having masteries that you can continuously build upon, I think, is, in my understanding of swordsmanship based on anime and video games, seems to be highly important to really truly becoming the greatest of all time. So
are you
I think
saying if
up.
you and me avoided all of our earthly desires and just focused on our craft, we could actually make something of ourselves instead of just constantly getting lazier, fatter, uglier, older, balder? We could actually have, instead of smoking all this tobacco and drinking all this alcohol, we could have dedicated ourselves to good things, Aggie. We could have been like Zoro.
It's hard for me to say. I did make this little philosophy called the Black Pill that's kind of counterintuitive for that, but at the same time...
Zoro wouldn't believe in that shit. He'd say, the fuck? You incel bitch. And he'd pull out his sword and cut you open, Aggie. We gotta be better men.
Well, I think I probably should, considering that I've been, being a professional gambler lately. I don't think that's probably the exact opposite of, mastering your disciplines. I think that's giving into your most impulsive, destructive, hedonistic, and completely undisciplined way of living.
Well, and to be clear, Zoro isn't an alcoholic, so he might just be a hypocrite. Like, I think we could still be alcoholics and be the best swordsman. So maybe fuck these 108-pound desires or whatever's going on. It's all nonsense. According to Buddhism is not even a religion, folks. It's a philosophy. It's a way of thinking. And the whole point of these 36 earthly desires, as they put it here, these cravings are understood to be a source of dukkha, suffering, as they lead to attachment and dissatisfaction. So the whole idea of Buddhism is if you want something, it'll lead to suffering because either you won't get it or you will get it, and then you'll lose it. So it's just like a kind of a pathetic way of thinking, like, oh, just don't want anything in your whole life. Just meditate all day and don't live because you'll just be sad. I think suffering's an important part of life. I don't know if we need to avoid it at all costs and avoid having desires and hopes and dreams and goals because failure leads to suffering. That's kind of part of the human experience, Buddhists. Eggy, am I getting something wrong here as a man who could perhaps cosplay as Buddha? Can you get into his enlightened mindset and tell me why I'm wrong?
Well, it almost kind of starts like it's sounding like it does flip around to black pill, like, if you ever want to become Chad, you will just suffer. So what you should do is
just give up now. That is fucking black pill. The Buddhists are ripping off Eggy.
It is what it is. But in all seriousness, folks, I'll tell you, like I said 10 years ago when I was talking that talk, basically well, I shouldn't say this because then I found out later this is like what Satanism is based on, and that's probably not good to promote, but like just go for whatever you're gonna go for. But I guess that's also called like do what thou wilt, which I guess is lay bad.
Well, I mean, as long as like you're not raping and murdering people, I guess do as thou wilt, right? Like I think other satanic principles probably say don't inflict pain on others, right? Like they're kind of like the Satanist shit is not a literal worship of Satan, isn't it? Just like people being edgy with their philosophy, really.
I believe so, yeah. But I'm not super educated on it. But I guess what I can say is the way that I was looking at it back then was, hey, you know what? If you're dealt a bad hand in life, you shouldn't expect to, become the ruler of the world, probably. Just whatever small victories you can get in life, just try to get some small victories and get better than what you used to be. So I think I'm going to stick to that as my motivational message of the day and probably for life.
Well, I mean, the parallel in the story, as Zoro is talking about these 36 Buddhist whatever the fuck, we have at the same time Wapol going from homeless to the richest billionaire on earth. So, maybe craving things is a good thing because then you can make good things happen instead of letting a dog pee on you 3 panels in a row like a Buddhist would.
Well, I should also say that when Zoro does his 36 times 3 sword phoenix attack, that Ohm just has his cloud whip go like it just like goes Milky Dial cloud whip and just like swings it away like a mother swinging a child's hand away from the candy bars, and he goes, "Oh, my attack was blocked."
And the panel kind of was similar when Ohm gets hit by the attack. It looked like when Chopper was getting hit, so I like the parallel there. And then of course, I think we covered a lot of everything after that with Robin and Eneru blasting everybody down. What else from this volume, Eggy? This was kind of a quick one.
Well, I mean, to be honest, we don't get like a lot of, we get some of that good story and world building with the discovery of the ruins, discovery of the poneglyphs and everything in Shandora. We get all that towards the start, and then really it's just a lot of high-paced, intense chasing, combat, everybody kind of finding the ways they're going to congregate here at either the Kami's throne, or then eventually as the throne is kind of cast off by Eneru's lightning, and they all find themselves in those ruins. So, I mean, really, more or less, it's just that's just pretty much what the volume has going on. That's kind of just a lot of fast-paced, intense things that all just end up at that conclusion.
On chapter 274, there's a little bit of a flashback to Kami Gonfor confronting Wiper. Our little philosophical conversation here. They're telling him, hey, they just want their homeland back. And Gonfor says, but our prosperous life on Skypia is only possible because 400 years ago, our ancestors took over Upper Yard. And Eggy, as somebody who lives in a country that maybe was taken from the natives 400 some odd years ago, the parallel seems clear to me. What is the philosophically, morally correct idea here in the fantasy world of One Piece where actually good things can happen and justice can prevail? Like, what if the Native Americans wanted the land back that was stolen from their ancestors? I mean, my personal opinion would be, fuck you, it's not yours. You know, like, you lost that war long ago. But in the One Piece version of the story, Eggy, what is the right thing? We can't just take the land from all the white people who live on it now, because like Gonfor is saying, why punish them? They didn't do anything wrong. They're prospering from this land as well. What is to be done, Eggy? What's fair?
Well, I guess I would have to just assume, hopefully, that somewhere in the One Piece logic that they could find a peace treaty of sorts. It seems like that's been kind of hard in our universe, but I guess one thing that comes to mind for me is maybe they could utilize this cloud material to perhaps develop further out. Maybe by having some more of that ocean developed upon. I don't know if they can go any further. I guess we have like this giant beanstalk and Eneru was up in the sky. Maybe they could do some sort of development upwards. We did see, back when the Straw Hats are entering, we have the White Sea and then the White Sea. There's a lot of upward trajectory going on. I would think maybe that could be a resolution, like, hey, we'll be over here, you're over here. Maybe they could have some sort of neutral area where they could do trade and business together, and then maybe just kind of have their own respective communities on either side. So obviously what I'm saying is segregation is the answer.
You think a hero like Trump should come in and turn it into Trump Upper Yard and just redo the whole thing?
The Vars that's in the town square's 50-foot gold. That's where the gold comes from. They take all the gold.
Trump statue. Now, that AI video Trump posted, it had like bearded transvestite people dancing at the beach. Eggy, did Trump watch this before he posted it?
I suspect that he didn't post. I mean, I think he
might not even know it exists. Yeah, somebody's just posted shit for him.
After whoever posted those meme coins on his account or whatever that stole everybody's money, and he's like, oh, I don't know what's up with that.
Nah, he's a natural born poster. That's why we voted for him back in the day. You know, if Trump's letting somebody else tweet this random horrible shit out and it's not him, I don't even want to laugh at it. Like, it needs to be coming from the president.
He's just doing the dance while he's watching his own gold statue in AI. He's like, it's a great idea, folks. Actually, I do have, I'm going to change my previous answer here, because Eneru, he mentions, he kind of actually basically says like God land for the gods, human land for the humans, blue sea for the blue seers. So he's kind of talking he's kind of sounding like Trump a little bit, but
he wants to return the land back to where it belongs in the form of destruction.
But he speaks on something he calls the endless Vars, where he said it's just land as far as the eye could see. If this is something that is real, and perhaps he has the means, maybe this arc that he speaks of, maybe he's got the means to find this endless Vars, maybe this could be the resolution that the people on both sides of the conflict need, because if he's got the ability to appear in this place, and it's just infinite space to develop and have your communities and have whatever you want to do, I mean, I don't know if the non-Shandian sky dwellers would be interested in leaving what they have going on, but it's an idea. You know, if there's like another place that they could make work just as well, maybe rebuild from the conflict that's been going on with Eneru. It's an idea. If there is such a place as Endless Vars, if this arc that's been spoken of does exist, I think it could play a role in helping rehabilitate everybody.
Would Endless Vars be like also up in the sky? Like he's building an ark. Is this like just is a boat that can float on clouds? Like how's he planning on finding this, and where would it even be? Endless Vars.
Well, I think he said it's basically like where the kami lives. So I guess if his throne was up above the White Sea, maybe it is. Maybe it's up there.
Maybe we don't know yet. Hopefully we find out soon. Aggie,
the triple White Sea, could it possibly be real? I mean, we got Blue Sea, White Sea, White Sea. Maybe that's like the Emerald Sea or something. Maybe it's just a whole other different pigment.
do you have any other general predictions for what is to come?
Well, I'm glad that even though we haven't really made progress, I'm glad that we still have multiple people that are all ready to combat Eneru at once. It's difficult for me to determine really logically where they might go from here. I could maybe see, because I'm thinking, my inclination is Luffy's going to pop out of the snake with Aisa, and he's going to be the hero again. But perhaps Zoro, if I want to go for a Varse-based method of attack, maybe if Zoro were to, let's say, coat his swords in some sort of mud, clay, Varse, whatever, that might possibly help make it so when he might be able to strike Eneru with his weaponry like that. Maybe it would help assist in him not being conducive. I guess he'd probably have to dunk his whole body in some kind of mud, but I feel like versus Luffy, who's a striker, I feel like Zoro utilizing his weaponry and utilizing some sort of tactic like that to reduce his conductivity, he might be the one who could really make the difference here. And then maybe a little bit of some assists from the other combatants as well to kind of help take Eneru down.
That was a cool panel when Zoro, Eneru grabs both of his swords and then like shocks him through the swords, and he's like standing on his face, and then that's when Wiper jumps on him and Zoro's able to roll away. So when Eneru gets blasted by the reject and then starts his heart back up and is back alive at the very end of the volume, who is still there? Like Wiper is still standing, but he just used the reject for the second time, so he's probably like pretty much his bones are about to shatter. And Zoro, like he just got shocked, but then he rolled away, so he's kind of okay to keep fighting, it seems, right? But I think Robin is out and is down for the count too.
Yeah, I don't think there was any inclination that he was going to be getting back up.
He got blasted with 20 million volts. Yeah, he's probably dead.
I did want to say something that I forgot to mention from the last volume, and then his child version is shown here. But Genbo, I just wanted to say, since I didn't talk about it at all in the last volume, he resembles a cartoon character I'm very fond of named Sneed. If you go and you read that particular chapter, and then he's got a little bit of the look in his face, I think, in the child version here towards the end of this volume.
Child Genbo looks like Sneed from Sneed's Feed and Seed in The Simpsons.
He still bears a resemblance as a child, but really the full warrior Genbo, maybe it's the hat that does it for him in volume 28.
Is Sneed one of the guys who calls Homer a city slicker?
Yeah.
So he just looks like a generic Simpsons character?
Honestly, in the face, I mean, yeah, you go look at him in volume 28, and was at whatever, it's specifically chapter 261.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well.
But yes, he definitely looks like him.
And what came out, what year did that episode come out? Could he have literally based the character on Sneed? It'd probably be pretty close, right? Around 2002, 2003? I think so.
Yeah, probably.
Like that was because I grew up watching The Simpsons like around season 12, 13. So as a kid, I only got to see the reruns of the really good episodes, and then every Sunday would be the newfangled bullshit, whatever era of showrunner they had. But any other predictions, Aggie? Now that we turn this into a Simpsons discussion Sneed podcast instead.
That's right.
We didn't even mention the whole point of the survival game was it was supposed to be a reward. Eneru wanted to take the survivors with him to live like kings on the Endless Vars, much like Baroque works. Like the whole plan of Crocodile was, you guys will be the kings of the new utopia. So Eneru, basically, this was the same plan. These were going to be his new Baroque's works, and they were going to go be the kings of this new utopia world, but they didn't want to go. And everybody said, no, we're going to kill you instead. And that is pretty noble. I wonder if everybody will remain noble. Do you think any of these survivors will cuck out for Eneru and go along with him, Iggy?
Well, I don't think so. Because as it stands right now, I mean, Gonfor, he's seemingly incapacitated, I'll say at least that much. Wiper, I mean, it's miraculous that he didn't just die right there. He might just capitulate on the grounds of, yeah, I got nothing left, and I got like 1% health. I'm just here, like, about to die. I could also say with, since Nami's still here too, I think maybe she could utilize some of her weather-based weaponry. Maybe this will kind of help come into play here with, I think Zoro's going to be kind of the main power figure here coming into this combat. Luffy, maybe he'll still take the center stage yet, but if I had to guess with where we're at right now, I would say Zoro's going to be coming through, and then hopefully Nami can use some of her climate technology to help set the stage a little bit more in his favor than where it has been or where it would be at this particular moment.
So then Luffy would not be getting the finishing blow on Eneru if Zoro and Nami have it covered?
For where we're at right now, just it's hard to say that what role Luffy might be playing in here, but I mean the combat's been initiated. He's still inside the snake right now. So as it stands here, I would say that I can't, in all good faith, write him into this fight because I just don't have any inclination to infer that that's going to be where it's going to go. So with what we're working with, I'm thinking it's Zoro and Nami duo.
When Eneru attacked them on the Mary, he spared Nami, but he fucked up Usopp and Sanji. But then with Robin, he blasts the fuck out of her, and he's like, yeah, I saw she's a woman, I don't give a fuck. So why spare Nami as a woman, but not Robin? Is that a flaw in the writing here?
I think Eneru says specifically, I despise conniving women, I think is the exact quote in the panel. So maybe he just, after having observed Robin and her having a seemingly elevated amount of knowledge or ability in regards to figuring things out to do with the ruins and all that, I think he might not have said it in so many words, but I think that he perceived her as a greater threat probably at that point than what Nami had been in his having arrived on the Going Merry at that time.
Okay, I think we have covered everything here. We did not spend only 28 minutes on Jaya. We gave you a full over an hour of nothing but One Piece and the Simpsons content that you come here for. Aggie, anything you want to plug this week?
Well, on the last episode, I said, I think I'm going to just finally come out and tell people how I've been professionally gambling lately. I never wanted to be boastful or prideful because, pride cometh before the fall.
Those are the 36 Buddhist earthly desires.
That's right. Well, as we concluded our recording last week and I looked at my phone, I had been restricted from my main online casino that exact day. I was like, wow, I must have, I guess it was meant to be. I argued with their support and they just wouldn't really seemingly give me any information. So I basically tried to work some things out. And through just sort of my own intuition of playing a little bit differently, I was able to get unrestricted and start making money on there again. But I thought, I still would like to do it. I think you could still do my method for a few weeks and hit profit before you get restricted. But I'm just starting to get back up and running. I think I want to give it a few more days and make sure that they're not going to just backdoor me and immediately wipe me out again. But with that being the case, then I'll try and see if I can produce a great method on my Rumble page with very unassuming title and unassuming description so that the casino doesn't find out that I've been abusing their system again.
And you did say that April Fool's Day, you're going to post your Naruto Volume 1 review, and then every subsequent April Fool's, you'll update us with another volume?
At this point, I might as well.
That'd be good. There's only, I think, probably 70 volumes in Naruto, maybe 72. So, yeah, you'd only be dead by the time you finish.
I'd only be dead before the volumes hit double digits. Just kidding,
You'll
folks.
be dead before the Naruto time skip.
I don't even know which volume that is, so that's probably accurate.
It's probably like around the 20s, I think. Like, most of Naruto is Shippuden, which is post-time skip. But,
well, I just would like to say this. See, people probably don't know this, but when I was going to start doing my own Naruto podcast, or the Naruto Virgin podcast, it was to help me get a little more confidence in my own anime podcasting or manga podcasting abilities. But I feel like I've really leveled myself up at least maybe once or twice, depending on the scale here, compared to when we first started. I think I get a little more confidence in my abilities here, so that's kind of why I let it fall by the wayside. But I still would like to do it at some point. I do still have an episode recorded, so I have somewhere to start from.
I think
volume 2.
Trying to analyze Naruto, if anything, would dull your senses because of how poorly written it is. Like, you'd be trying to make predictions, and then it wouldn't make any damn sense because even the author didn't know what the fuck they were doing. It is what it is. Some authors begin with the end in mind, others hope that they find it. And most of them can't fucking find it, evidently, in the manga world. It's very sad. But One Piece, I think, it might be the greatest ending of all time. It's building up to it. Bye, folks.